back to Cardiac Radio for Teens. This week, I'd like to announce a special event that we have coming up. On Friday, August 12th, it is International Youth Day, which that alone is pretty cool because we're all youth, so that's pretty exciting that we have an International Youth Day that probably a lot of us didn't know about, and that's August 12th, this Friday. On this day, 10 teen guest speakers, will be speaking at the United Nations about the topic of religious tolerance, peace, and human rights. I happen to be one of the lucky ones that got to be invited to this event, and I'm going to be speaking there. So I'd really like to share with you guys so when it is broadcasted that everyone can see and everyone can know about it. So this Friday on August 12th, me and 9 other teens from ages 12 to 21 are going to be speaking at the United Nations on these topics of peace, tolerance, and human rights. Since it's a topic that we're having a whole United Nations event about and how it's still highly discussed, it's important, I think, that we discuss it too in our radio show. But before we get started on that, I'd like to bring up one thing about how I got into the essay competition, how I got into being selected as a speaker. So how I got to be a speaker is there was an essay competition, and there was a prompt, and you could write. It was about writing about religious tolerance and peace and love and human rights and topics like that, and there was sample questions that you could answer in your essay, and it was just your own thing to do. No one forced you to do it. No, it wasn't for a grade. There was no reason to do it except if you wanted to do it. And then some of the winners and some people they picked from these essays, that they got these essays, they decided to make a United Nations event about. So it started off as a simple essay competition and then gradually became this wonderful event that we're going to have this Friday. I'd like to bring that up because I know it seems kind of so far away and so far reached that, like, oh my goodness, well, that would never be me. I'd never be speaking at the United Nations. But it was just a simple essay competition that anyone could have entered, and it could have been you. And there's so many opportunities that we have to do little stuff like this that we never realize how it could turn into something so great and big. So sometimes when we have that option, oh, do I really want to write that essay? It's just optional. Maybe I won't even win. But maybe you will, and you should give it your best because you never know what could happen. So I'd just like to mention that. So for people to think that you can do it too, it can be you, and you just have to get yourself involved. You have to put yourself out there. If you see something like this that might be of interest to you, then write about it. Write the best you can and just see where it goes. Maybe you don't win, but maybe you do. So why take the chance of not knowing if you'll win or not? Just go for it. So this event is going to be happening Friday, August 12th from about 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and it's going to be held at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. Although it is only invite only to get into the actual event, it will be recorded and filmed, and I'll have a copy of it and I'll be able to share it with anyone who wants to see it. So if there is a whole essay competition about this, and if it is such a big talked about topic that we're having at the United Nations, a whole ceremony, a whole conference about it, then it must be important, right? We are constantly hearing, seeing, looking at things that show this religious intolerance and people being mean to each other. It's like bullying, but so much like around the world. Not little bullying in school, but real life bullying that's getting really harsh. And about religions, about not even just about religions, but just about personalities and so many other things that we get into conflicts for that really shouldn't have been a big deal. So first off, many people, they throw around terms like tolerance and acceptance and love, and they don't truly know what it means. So I think it's really important that we take a minute to define that first. The definition of tolerance is the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular, the existence of opinion or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. So this is really important to understand because tolerance isn't about having to believe in what the other person believes in or accepting that as your own belief. But it's their opinion, it's what they believe in, and we have to respect that. It's just being able to respect that, not having to change to their religion or change to do what they do, but just respecting what their own decisions are and their opinions are and what they believe in. And although to tolerate and to accept might seem kind of the same, they're actually a little bit different. So to accept someone means to show respect for and validate for who they are and what their beliefs consist of. So although they're kind of different, they kind of have similar characteristics in their definition about how it's respecting someone, even though it doesn't say to believe what the other person's believing, but it just means to respect them and to understand that if that's their belief, then that's their belief, and we have our own belief and they have their belief, and not that we're saying either one is right or wrong, but we should just accept each other as we are. And another word that a lot of people always throw around, but it's never really actually defined, no one really actually knows the definition of, and that's peace. And one of the definitions could be freedom from disturbances. And another definition could be freedom from the cessation of war or violence. So these are both really good definitions to understanding what peace means, because we say, oh yeah, we want the world to be at peace, we want this and that, but we don't actually know what we're saying. So we want the world to cease from war and violence, to not have violence, and to be free of disturbances, even if it's not violence, to not be mean, to not be hateful, to not do little disturbances in common day life. It doesn't have to be a big war, which obviously we want to get rid of too, but even every little disturbance that we do, every little bully, every little sideways look we give to one another. And another really important word to define that a lot of people throw around and just say without knowing the definition of is love. Love is an intense feeling of deep affection, and it's also a person or thing that one loves. So this is really important to understand, because sometimes we say we want peace on earth, or sometimes we say love for all. Well, peace is just having no disturbances, not bickering with one another, but we don't have to love them, but we tolerate them, we accept them, we are like, okay, they're who they are, they believe what they believe, and we believe what we believe. But this is showing affection to everyone, saying you love, trying for love all over the world. That's much harder and much deeper, because we're trying to not only be, let's say, indifferent about the person, be like, okay, maybe I don't exactly agree, but it's fine, but it's to actually learn to like those people, to have passionate emotions towards those people, which is going to be very difficult for that to be around the whole world right now. But we can start little by little, and one day we will achieve that. For some people, all the concepts of these words and just being able to tolerate someone, to accept that what they believe in isn't what we believe in, but it's good either way. It's hard for some people to understand and to grasp the concept that not everyone thinks like they do. But if someone or a group of people, if they're striving to do good and they're striving for peace and they're just trying to learn, then why do we need to have any reason to not respect them and not respect what they believe in? Maybe it's not exactly what we believe in, but if they're not trying to do any harm, if they're only striving for the good, then they're doing good, and we don't have to be judgmental or harsh on them, because they're only striving for what we are striving for too. If there's no reason, if they're not doing anything bad, if they're just trying to do good, and there's not a good reason to judge or discriminate them, then why do we still do it? Why does it still happen? Well, one reason that this still happens is because we still haven't learned completely how to tolerate one another, how to accept one another, how to be able to live in peace with each other. Everyone at some point or another has felt judged or felt discriminated against by other people or one person. Everyone has at some point. And not even just talking about religions, religions is a big part of it, but talking about a lot of topics that we see on the news today, whether it's religion or your origins or your family or your body type or whatever it may be. And a lot of us teenagers, we can relate to that, because we relate to not even just discrimination as a whole group of people, but just bullying in school. That's like something that everyone can relate to, whether we've been bullied or if we've watched it. We all know what it feels like. And sometimes the bigger issues against like huge groups of people, about huge groups of religions or countries over one another. It's just like one major bullying thing. It's like taking the high school bullying to a million times different level. But if we don't learn to deal with like bullying and discrimination and being judged at a younger age in school, what makes us think that we're just gonna change and not be able and not bully each other when we're all older or when we're in bigger organizations? And that's what happens a lot of the times. Because like if you think about a simple example, if there's a nerdy kid that gets picked on in school, he's just trying to do good. He's just trying to learn. He's just trying to finish school, get his degree, go to wherever he wants to go to college. He's most likely just trying to do the good, but yet there's still people that feel the need to judge him. And there's really no reason to, because if they're striving for good, then it doesn't matter what their means are, because all they want is good, as long as they're not doing anything negative in between. I'd like to read a quick little message from the Daily Book of Positive Quotations, and this one's titled True Religion. We may or may not belong to an organized religion. We may or may not frequent a place of worship. If we believe our life as fully as we can in accordance with our deepest and most passionate beliefs, then we are truly religious. I live in a way that honors my religious beliefs. So I thought this message was really interesting, because not that it's saying about different religions specifically, but it's saying that even though one person may not even have a religion at all, they may believe certain things from different religions, and that's fine, because there's not one right answer. If it's for good and it's for God, and we're all just striving to do good and to have peace, then there's just nothing wrong with it if it's just a little bit different than how we think. And everyone sees the news all the time, and it's always talking about one group fighting another group, or one religion being discriminated against, or one sexuality being discriminated against, or there's always something that's getting discriminated against. But we all just kind of look at it helplessly, like, well, what can I do? I'm not going to be able to do anything about it, so what's the point? I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. But the thing is that we can't change other people. That's right, we can't really force them to change if they don't want to change, but we can change ourselves for the better. We can change that in us, and then once we perfect it, once we get it, then we'll be able to teach other people. And it's going to be up to them to change it themselves, but we can plant the seeds for them to start the change, to start growing if they'd like. So that's something really important that I'd really like to focus on, because a lot of people, they just want to make a change in the world, but they want to get all these people on board. They want to change all these people, what they think. But if you want to change, you have to change yourself first, because if you say that you want to change the world, that no one's ever going to discriminate against anyone ever again, but maybe sometimes you do that. Or an easier example, maybe you say, oh, everyone should be a vegetarian. Everyone should be a vegetarian because you shouldn't eat meat. But then you say, oh, well, I still eat chicken. But that's still technically meat, and you didn't teach yourself to be a vegetarian for you to teach other people to be that either. So we have to make the change in ourselves first before we just try and go and implant that change in other people. Because some people, they do feel the need to still be mean and to put others down, and we don't know why they do that. We're not in their heads. We can't assume and just judge them on why they're doing that. But we also can't change them. We can try and help them. We can explain to them. We can teach them new ways. But the only person who can make them listen is themselves. But the more you can teach them and help them, the better they'll be able to try and change themselves. They'll be up for it more. But the one person we can change is ourselves. So instead of sometimes, oh, I wish I could change that person. Oh, I wish I could help them. Well, change yourself. Make yourself better, so then once we've perfected it, we can go on and share that to other people. And just a quick side note on that is that that's just showing how quick we are to judge, because even if we think we're the right person, we think, oh, that bully is so mean. Why are they bullying that person? They don't understand. They're dumb. Whatever we say, we're judging that person, because maybe they have they have a problem that they haven't shared, or they have something going on at home, or they were raised believing wrong things. Whatever it is, we don't know what that person's position is either, so we can't be judging them either. So it's not just judging the victim, but also just judging everyone, because we may think, oh, we're doing the right thing, but we're just judging the other person anyway. So I'd like to read another message that starts, let peace start with you. If you want peace, work for justice. You've probably seen that slogan on a bumper sticker. Did you know that it has biblical roots? Look at these words from the Apostle James. But the wisdom that comes from above leads us to be pure, friendly, gentle, sensible, kind, helpful, genuine, and sincere. When peacemakers plant seeds of peace, they will harvest justice. James presented a different shade of meaning, perhaps, but the point remains. Justice and peace are inevitably linked. As followers of Jesus, we're called to be peacemakers, which means justice and peace should both be high on our priority list. But when do we go from there? What can we hope to achieve in a cultural rift with injustice and conflict? How can we plant seeds of justice? So that's kind of going along with what we were talking about before, about how you have to plant the seeds in the other person. You can't exactly change them, but you have to try and plant those seeds of goodness in them. And then it goes on to say how we could plant the seeds of peace. We can be slow to confront. Peace is rarely spread or enjoyed by people with thin skin. If you want to be a peacemaker, you need to make sure that you can withstand the arrows that will be fired your way. The fact is, people say dumb things, offensive things, self-glorified things all the time. If our knee-jerk reaction is to confront people every time they offend us, we may be writing off as humorless cranks. If, on the other hand, we choose our confrontational battles wisely, we will make more of an impact when we do speak. Towards the end, we must learn to let insults slide and minor infractions go unpunished. In other words, we shouldn't look for things to be offended by. So that's really important, because it's showing us how sometimes we just try and find that people are doing something wrong, and the same way that we just try and judge people for any little thing that they're doing, when we may think, oh, from the outside it looks really bad, but we don't know their story, we don't know what's going on, we don't know why they're doing that bad thing, and not that it's gonna make the bad thing better, but we can't judge them for something that we don't have any information or background on. And if we're in a situation that we feel that our automatic instinct is to just go ahead and judge that person, well, maybe we should just ask them, hey, why are you doing that? Or if it's something like on the news, maybe we should research more about it and figure out more information before we just start jumping to negative conclusions, because that's not going to do anyone good. If we just ask, we could get a straight answer right away. And that makes it much more understandable for us and for the other person. Maybe the other person realizes, like, wow, this person really does care, because instead of just judging me or saying something bad, they're trying to help. They're trying to figure me out. Sometimes, and most of the time, especially in high school, not even talking about the bigger world problems, but just focusing on our daily lives. And sometimes we have the tendency to think that we're better than someone else. And so instead of listening to what they have to say, or to caring what they're doing, or to understanding that they're going through stuff too, we just are so quick to judge, to be mean, because we just think that we're better than other people, when we're not. We're all equals. And maybe you are stronger at a certain subject than someone else, or maybe you're really good at school and they're really good at sports, but you guys don't do the opposite, so maybe you guys can help each other out instead of just being like, oh yeah, I'm really good at school, but I'm not going to help him. So then what's that doing any good? You're not putting what you're learning into practice. Or, oh, I'm really good at sports, but I'm not going to play with anyone. Then how are you going to play in a team? So it's about working together, and when we believe that we're better than other people, that's when we create conflicts. That's when we bump head to head, even on a global scale. We can't change how the other person thinks exactly. We can't be them. We can't make them do things. But if we become the best we can be, then we can help spread that and help them learn and learn from them, instead of just demanding that they change while we stay here and do nothing. Because that's not going to do anyone any good. Everyone aspires to do good. Everyone wants to make a change in the world. They want to have their impact. They want to leave their mark on the world. And sometimes we think that we just have to be at the top. We have to be better than everyone else to do that. But we don't. If we are really caring and we're understanding, and we don't think we're better than anyone else, but we try and make ourselves the best we can be, and then teach other people and help other people. So that's the real way that we'll be able to make a change in the world and leave our mark, not by just trying to beat someone else in the race of who's going to get famous first, but really trying to dedicate ourselves to learning to be the best we can be, and then learning to help other people. I'd like to mention quickly 2 songs which really relate to this topic, and I think they're really good songs that you should listen to, and they're really inspiring. And one of them is Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson. And this song really says exactly that if you want to make a change in the world, start with yourself. Make the change in yourself, and then you can grow and start making the change in the world around you, starting off with your family, your community, until one day we'll get to the whole world. But it all starts within yourself. And another song is an old song from Disney Channel called Send It On, and it has Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, and the Jonas Brothers. I know this might seem a little cheesy and boring to listen to. Why do I want to listen to an old Disney Channel song? But really the message in it is saying that one little spark is going to start a whole rippling effect, and you need to start with yourself, and once you can do the good with yourself, then it's going to slowly spread and spread, and it's going to make the mark in the world. We're not just going to change everyone in one night, but we have to make the change little by little, and we have to start with ourselves. I don't want to spoil everything that's going to be said at the United Nations event, because I want everyone to stay tuned and watch that. But I'd like to end off with one little last message. So this last message is called Group Action. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. The problems of the world, or even the problems of our local community, can seem overwhelming. How can we make a difference? Alone, it's difficult to make a significant change, but when we work together with others, even on a small scale, the changes that we can make a difference increase dramatically. A collaboration between parents and teachers can do much more to improve a school than any single parent acting alone. A block association can do much more to improve a neighborhood than any single resident acting alone. I don't have to feel that I need to tackle every problem in the world by myself. There are many others who care about the same things I do. So I wanted to end with that, because we were saying how, you have to make the change in yourself first. You have to change yourself, but that doesn't mean we're alone. We can work with other people who want to change that same thing in themselves, and you can work together towards that. Work together trying to change yourself, but change yourself together. Like when you go to the gym with a friend. You go to the gym with a friend, but you both are working out for your own selves. You're not working out for each other. You can't lose weight for that person, and they can't run the treadmill for you, but you just go together, and you have a buddy to accompany you through the way. So it's kind of the same thing. If you want to make a change in yourself and start with like little local things, start with your family, then, find a group of people or some friends that want to do that too, and then just like going to the gym, you can all do it together and all work your same progress, and it's all independent. It's your own independent progress, but you just happen to be working with other people who also like that. So the most important thing is to remember that it all starts with you, and that if you want to make a change in the world, if you want to make your mark, like everyone does, who doesn't want to do that, then start with yourself. Start little by little. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, anything you want to know about the United Nations event, feel free to email me at kardecradioforteens@gmail.com, and I'll answer you right away. This has been Kardec Radio for Teens. Thank you all for listening.